The rain came down hard on the colony of New Harbor. It fell on the tall buildings in the center where the rich aliens lived. It fell on the market streets where traders sold food and tools. And it fell on the edge of town, where the old houses stood broken and forgotten. In one of these old houses lived a young named Vel. Vel was small for her kind. Most grew tall and strong by her age, but she had not eaten well for many seasons. Her scales were a soft blue color, like the sky before sunset. Her wings were still too small to fly, folded tight against her back. Her eyes were large and golden, and they watched everything with care. She was only 9 cycles old. In human years, that meant she was still a child. But Vel had lived alone for 2 full cycles now, ever since the sickness took her mother. No one came to help her. No one asked if she needed food or warmth. The other in the colony had their own problems, and the other species did not care about a small dragon girl living in a pile of scrap metal. Her house was not really a house. It was more like a shelter made from old ship parts and broken machines. Her mother had built it long ago, when they first came to New Harbor looking for a better life. The walls were thin metal sheets held together with wire. The floor was hard dirt covered with old blankets, and the roof was a mix of flat panels that her mother had found in the junk yards. The roof had always leaked a little, but this season the leaks had become much worse. Vel sat in the corner of her small home and watched the water drip down from above. One drop fell near her sleeping mat. Another fell on the pile of clothes she kept in a box. A third fell right on her head, cold and sudden. She wiped her face with her hand and made a small sound of frustration. Her tail curled around her feet as she looked up at the ceiling. She could see the holes clearly now. The metal had rusted through in several places. Every time the wind blew, the panels shifted and let more water inside. She had tried to fix it before. Last week, she had climbed up on the roof with a piece of flat metal and some wire. She had tried to cover the biggest hole, but the metal was too heavy and she was too small. She had fallen twice and hurt her arm. The patch she managed to place had blown away the very next day. Now she did not know what to do. The rain was getting worse. The weather reports said it would continue for many more days. This was the heavy season on New Harbor, when the storms came one after another without rest. All the other beings in the colony had strong roofs and warm walls, but Vel had only her broken scrap house and her thin blankets. She pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. Her stomach made a sound. She had not eaten since yesterday morning, when she found half a food pack behind the market. She was saving the last piece for later, but her hunger was growing strong. Outside, she could hear the sounds of the colony: ships flying overhead, people talking in the streets, machines working in the factories. Life was happening all around her, but none of it touched her little corner of the world. She thought about her mother sometimes. She remembered how warm it felt to sleep next to her, wrapped in her big wings. She remembered how her mother would sing old songs while cooking their small meals. She remembered feeling safe. Now she felt only cold and wet and alone. The house next to hers belonged to a human. Vel had seen him many times but had never spoken to him. His name was Ho, and he worked as a mechanic. He fixed ships and machines for the traders who came through New Harbor. His workshop was attached to his house, and she could often hear the sounds of his tools late into the night. Humans were strange creatures to Vel. Her mother had told her stories about them. She said humans were clever but selfish. They helped only themselves and never shared with others. They smiled with their mouths but not with their hearts. Her mother had warned her to stay away from them. But Vel had watched Ho from her window many times. He did not seem like the humans in her mother's stories. He was quiet and kept to himself. He had dark hair with some gray in it, and his face had lines that made him look tired. He walked slowly, like someone carrying a heavy weight that no one else could see. Sometimes, late at night, Vel would see the light in his workshop window. She would see his shadow moving inside as he worked on his machines. She wondered what he was building. She wondered if he was lonely too. But she never talked to him. She was too afraid. Tonight, as the rain poured down and the water dripped all around her, Vel made a decision. She would try to fix the roof again tomorrow. She would find stronger materials. She would work harder. She would not give up. Her people had survived worse things than a leaky roof. Her mother had taught her to be strong. She would honor that memory by taking care of herself. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. The sound of the rain filled her ears. The cold water dripped onto her mat, making it wet. She shivered and pulled her blanket. In the house next door, Ho stood at his window. He had finished his work for the night and was about to go to bed, but something made him stop and look outside. Through the rain, he could see the small scrap house where the child lived. He had noticed her months ago, when he first moved to this part of the colony. He had seen her searching for food in the trash. He had seen her carrying heavy pieces of metal that were too big for her small body. He had seen her sitting alone on her doorstep, watching the other children play in the distance. He had wanted to help her many times, but he did not know how. He did not know if she would accept help from a human. He did not know if he had the right to interfere in her life. But tonight, watching her house shake in the wind, watching the rain pour through the holes in her roof, he felt something stir inside him, something old and painful, something he had buried deep down for many years. He thought about his own daughter. She had been about the same age as this girl when she got sick. He remembered holding her hand in the hospital. He remembered promising her that everything would be okay. He remembered the moment when her hand went cold in his. That was 15 years ago. He had been running from that memory ever since. He had moved from planet to planet, colony to colony, trying to outrun the pain, but the pain always followed him. Now, standing at his window, watching a small dragon girl suffer in the rain, he wondered if maybe it was time to stop running. He turned away from the window and went to his storage room. He found his old toolbox and his bag of supplies. He had extra metal sheets from a job last month. He had strong sealant that could stop any leak. He had everything he needed to fix a roof. Tomorrow he would go next door. Tomorrow he would offer to help. He did not know if the little dragon would accept. He did not know if she would even talk to him, but he had to try. Because some things were more important than fear, and some roofs needed fixing before it was too late. Ho went to bed that night with a plan in his heart, and in the house next door, Vel fell asleep to the sound of rain, not knowing that her life was about to change forever. The morning came gray and wet. The rain had slowed but not stopped. Vel woke up on her damp mat and felt the cold deep in her bones. Her blanket was soaked through. Her clothes were wet. Even her scales felt heavy with moisture. She sat up slowly and looked around her small home. Puddles had formed on the dirt floor during the night. Her box of clothes was sitting in one of them. She quickly pulled it out, but the damage was done. Everything inside was wet. She sighed and hung the clothes on a wire that stretched across one corner of the room. They would take days to dry in this weather. Until then, she had only the clothes on her back. Her stomach growled loudly. She remembered the piece of food pack she had saved. She found it in its hiding spot under a loose floor panel and ate it slowly, trying to make it last. It was not enough to fill her belly, but it would have to do. After eating, she went outside to look at her roof. The rain made her scales slick and cold, but she needed to see how bad things were. She climbed onto a pile of scrap metal next to her house and looked up. The roof was worse than she thought. 2 more panels had shifted during the night. A large gap had opened near the center, big enough to put her arm through. The rust had spread across most of the surface. Some parts looked ready to fall apart completely. Vel felt her heart sink. She did not have the materials to fix this. She did not have the strength. She was just a small dragon girl with no one to help her. She climbed down and sat on the wet ground, not caring about the mud. Her tail dragged in the dirt behind her. Her wings drooped against her back. For a moment, she let herself feel the weight of everything, the loneliness, the hunger, the fear. Then she heard footsteps. She looked up and saw the human from next door walking toward her. Ho carried a large toolbox in one hand and a bag over his shoulder. He wore a thick jacket with a hood that kept the rain off his face. His boots made splashing sounds in the puddles. Vel jumped to her feet and backed away. Her heart beat fast. She did not know what he wanted. She did not know why he was coming to her house. Ho stopped a few steps away from her. He did not come closer. He just stood there looking at her with calm eyes. "Hello," he said. His voice was quiet and gentle. "My name is Ho. I live next door." Vel did not answer. She watched him carefully, ready to run if she needed to. Ho looked up at her roof. "That is a bad leak," he said. "The rain will only get worse this week. You need to fix it soon." Still, Vel said nothing. She did not trust this human. She did not understand why he was talking to her. Ho set his toolbox down on the ground. He opened the bag on his shoulder and pulled out several flat pieces of metal. They were new and shiny, without any rust. He also pulled out tubes of sealant and a box of strong screws. "I have extra materials from a job," he said. "I thought maybe you could use them for your roof." Vel stared at the materials. They were good quality, better than anything she could find in the junk yards. With those, she could actually fix the holes. She could make her home dry again. But she did not reach for them. "Why?" she asked. Her voice came out small and rough. She had not spoken to anyone in many days. Ho tilted his head. "Why what?" "Why do you want to help me?" Vel asked. "You do not know me. I am nothing to you. Why would you give me these things?" Ho was quiet for a moment. He seemed to think carefully about his answer. "Because your roof is leaking," he said simply, "and I can help fix it. That is reason enough." Vel shook her head. "Humans do not help for no reason. My mother told me. Humans always want something back. What do you want from me?" Something flickered across Ho's face. It looked like sadness, but Vel was not sure. "Your mother was partly right," he said. "Many humans are like that. They only help when they can get something in return. But not all humans are the same, just like not all are the same." Vel thought about this. She knew it was true. Not all were kind. Some had been cruel to her mother when they first came to the colony. Some had refused to share food even when they had plenty. But still she was afraid. "I do not need your help," she said. "I can fix it myself." Ho looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. He picked up his toolbox but left the bag of materials on the ground. "I will leave these here. You can use them if you want, or you can throw them away. It is your choice." He turned and started walking back to his house. Vel watched him go. Part of her wanted to call out and ask him to stay. Part of her wanted to accept his help. But the fear was too strong. The voice of her mother was too loud in her head. Ho reached his door and went inside. He did not look back. Vel stood in the rain, staring at the bag of materials on the ground. The metal sheets gleamed in the gray light. The sealant tubes were clean and new. Everything she needed was right there in front of her. But she could not bring herself to touch it. She went back inside her wet house and sat in her corner. She watched the water drip from the ceiling and felt more alone than ever. The day passed slowly. The rain continued to fall. Vel stayed inside, trying to stay warm under her damp blanket. She could not stop thinking about the human and his offer. Why would he help her? What did he really want? She did not understand. In her experience, no one helped for free. Everyone wanted something. The traders wanted payment. The other wanted to be left alone. The colony authorities wanted her to stay out of trouble. But this human had asked for nothing. He had not even stayed to make sure she used his gift. He had just left it there and walked away. It did not make sense. As the afternoon turned to evening, Vel heard sounds from next door. She crept to her window and looked out. She could see into Ho's workshop through his large window. He was working on something. It looked like a small engine from a ship. His hands moved carefully over the parts, checking connections and tightening bolts. His face was focused but peaceful. Vel watched him for a long time. She noticed how gentle he was with the machine, how patient. He did not get angry when something did not work. He just tried again, over and over, until he got it right. She thought about what he had said. Not all humans are the same. Maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe he really did just want to help. Maybe not everyone in the galaxy was as selfish as she believed. But even if that was true, she could not accept his charity. Her mother had taught her to be proud, to take care of herself, to never depend on others. She would fix her roof on her own. She would show everyone that she did not need help. The next morning, Vel went outside to try again. She had found a few pieces of metal in the junk yard yesterday, before the rain got too heavy. They were not as good as the ones Ho had offered, but they would have to do. She climbed up onto her roof with the metal and her small hammer. The surface was slippery from the rain. She had to move very carefully to keep from falling. She found the biggest hole and placed the metal over it. She held it in place with one hand and tried to hammer a nail with the other, but the angle was wrong. The nail bent. The metal slipped. She tried again, and again. Each time something went wrong. After an hour of trying, she had only made things worse. The hole was bigger now. Her hands were scraped and sore. Tears of frustration burned in her eyes. In his workshop, Ho looked out the window and watched her struggle. His heart ached to help her, but he knew she was not ready. She had to make her own choice. So he waited and he hoped. And outside, in the cold rain, a small dragon girl learned that sometimes the hardest thing in the world is to accept a helping hand. 3 more days passed. The rain did not stop. Vel's house got wetter and wetter. The floor was now covered in mud. Her sleeping mat was ruined. She had moved everything she owned to one small corner, the only spot where the water did not reach. She was cold all the time now. Her scales had lost their shine. Her eyes were tired from not sleeping well. Her stomach ached from hunger. The bag of materials still sat outside her door, exactly where Ho had left it. The rain had not damaged them. The metal sheets were still clean. The sealant was still good. Every day, Vel looked at that bag. Every day she thought about using it, and every day she turned away. But she could not stop watching the human. From her window, she saw him come and go. She saw him work in his shop. She saw him eat his meals alone at his small table. She saw him stare out his window late at night, just like she did. He never looked in her direction. He never came back to talk to her. He just went about his life, quiet and alone. On the 4th day, something different happened. Vel was watching from her window when she saw Ho climb onto his own roof. He carried tools and materials, just like she had tried to do, but his movements were sure and steady. He knew exactly what he was doing. She watched him work for hours. He replaced old panels with new ones. He sealed every crack and hole. He checked every corner and edge. When he was done, his roof looked almost new. Vel felt something strange in her chest. It was not jealousy. It was not anger. It was more like wonder. How did he know how to do all that? Where did he learn? She wanted to ask him, but she was still too afraid. The next morning she found something outside her door. It was a small cloth bag with food inside, dried meat, a package of rice, 2 pieces of fruit. There was no note, no name, but Vel knew who had left it. She stared at the food for a long time. Her stomach screamed at her to eat. Her pride told her to throw it away. For several minutes she stood there, caught between hunger and stubbornness. In the end, hunger won. She took the food inside and ate it slowly. It was the best meal she had in weeks. The meat was salty and good. The rice was warm in her belly. The fruit was sweet and fresh. When she was done, she felt stronger than she had in days. But she also felt something else, something uncomfortable. She felt guilty. This human had given her food. He had offered her materials. He had tried to help her in every way he could, and she had given him nothing but silence and suspicion. Maybe her mother was wrong about humans. Maybe Ho was different. Maybe she had been unfair. That afternoon, Vel did something brave. She walked to Ho's door and knocked. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened, and the human stood there looking down at her. His face showed surprise, but he did not say anything. Vel opened her mouth to speak, but the words got stuck. She had planned what to say, but now she could not remember any of it. Ho waited patiently. He did not rush her. He did not ask questions. Finally, Vel found her voice. "Thank you," she said, "for the food." Ho's face softened. A small smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. "You are welcome," he said. Another long silence. Vel shuffled her feet. Her tail twitched nervously behind her. "I watched you fix your roof," she said. "You are very good at it." Ho nodded. "I have been fixing things for many years. Ships, machines, buildings, it is what I do." Vel looked down at her claws. "I tried to fix my roof, but I could not do it. I am not strong enough. I do not know how." "Fixing things takes practice," Ho said. "No one is born knowing how. Everyone has to learn." Vel looked up at him. "Will you teach me?" The question surprised both of them. Vel had not planned to ask it. The words just came out on their own. Ho studied her face for a moment. Then he stepped aside and held the door open. "Come inside," he said. "Let me show you something." Vel hesitated. Going into a stranger's house was dangerous. Her mother had always warned her about that, but something told her it was okay. Something told her she could trust this human. She stepped inside. Ho's home was simple but warm. The walls were covered with tools and parts. A workbench filled most of the main room. In the corner was a small kitchen and a table with one chair. But what caught Vel's attention was the wall above the workbench. Photos, dozens of photos. All of them showed a young human girl with dark hair and a bright smile. Vel walked closer to look at them. The girl was different ages in different photos. In some she was a baby. In others she was a child. In a few she looked almost grown. "Who is she?" Vel asked. Ho came to stand beside her. His voice was quiet when he spoke. "Her name was, she was my daughter." Was, the word hung in the air like something heavy and sad. "What happened to her?" Vel asked. Then she caught herself. "I am sorry, you do not have to tell me." Ho shook his head. "It is okay, it was a long time ago." He paused and took a deep breath. "She got sick. A bad sickness that the doctors could not cure. She was only 8 years old when she died." Vel did not know what to say. She had lost her mother, so she understood some of the pain, but she could not imagine losing a child. "I am sorry," she said again. It felt like a weak thing to say, but it was all she had. Ho looked at the photos for a long moment. "She loved to learn new things. She was always asking me to teach her how to fix machines, how to build things, how to make broken things work again." He turned to look at Vel. "When I saw you trying to fix your roof, I thought of her. She would have done the same thing. She never gave up, even when things were hard." Vel felt tears prick at her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. "I will teach you," Ho said. "If you want to learn, we can start with your roof." Vel nodded. She did not trust her voice to speak. Ho went to his workbench and picked up a small hammer. It was lighter than the one Vel had been using, better suited for smaller hands. "This was," he said. "She used it when she helped me in the workshop. I think she would want you to have it." He held it out to her. Vel took the hammer carefully. It felt right in her grip, light but strong. "Thank you," she whispered. Ho smiled. A real smile this time, not just a small one. "Come on," he said. "Let us go fix your roof. The rain is light today. It is a good time to work." They walked outside together. Ho picked up the bag of materials that had been sitting by Vel's door for days. He handed her the hammer and showed her how to hold it properly. And there, in the gray light of a rainy afternoon, a human and a dragon began to work side by side. Vel learned many things that day. She learned how to measure a hole before cutting the metal. She learned how to seal edges so water could not get through. She learned how to hammer a nail straight and true. But she also learned something else, something more important. She learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is accept help from others. She learned that pride can be a wall that keeps good things out. She learned that even in the hardest times, there are people who care. And as she hammered the first nail into her roof, she felt something warm grow in her chest. It felt like hope. The work took 3 days to complete. Every morning, Ho came to Vel's house with his tools and materials. Every morning, Vel was waiting for him, his hammer in her hand. They worked together through the rain, stopping only when the storms got too strong. Vel learned quickly. Her small claws were good at holding nails. Her sharp eyes could spot cracks that Ho missed. Her tail helped her balance on the slippery roof surface. Ho was patient with her. When she made mistakes, he did not get angry. He simply showed her the right way and let her try again. When she got frustrated, he told her stories about his own failures when he was learning. "The first ship I tried to fix," he said one afternoon, "I put the engine in backwards. The whole thing flew in circles for an hour before crashing into a lake." Vel laughed. It was the first time she had laughed in a very long time. The sound surprised her. She had forgotten what it felt like. On the second day, something strange happened. An alien named walked by while they were working. He was tall with blue skin and 4 arms. He owned a food stall in the market and was known for being unfriendly. Stopped and stared at them. His large eyes moved from Ho to Vel and back again. "What are you doing?" he asked. Ho did not stop working, fixing the roof. "Why?" seemed confused. "The dragon child is not your family. She has no money to pay you. Why would you waste your time?" Ho finally looked at him, because her roof was leaking. Shook his head. "Humans are strange creatures. You do things that make no sense." He walked away, muttering to himself. Vel watched him go with a frown on her face. "He was very rude," she said. Ho shrugged. "Some people do not understand kindness. They think everything must have a price, but they are wrong." "What do you mean?" Ho set down his tools and sat on the edge of the roof. Vel climbed up to sit beside him. The rain had stopped for a moment, and the clouds showed a hint of sunshine. "When I was young," Ho said, "I was alone too. My parents died in an accident when I was 12. I had no family, no friends. I lived on the streets and stole food to survive." Vel listened carefully. She had not known any of this about him. "One day an old man found me sleeping in an alley," Ho continued. "He could have walked past me. He could have called the authorities to take me away. But instead he took me to his home. He gave me food and a warm bed. He taught me how to fix machines. He gave me a purpose." "What happened to him?" Vel asked. "He died many years later. But before he died, he told me something important. He said that kindness is like fire. If you keep it to yourself, it will burn out. But if you share it with others, it will spread and grow." Ho looked at Vel with gentle eyes. "I am not helping you because I want something back. I am helping you because someone helped me once. And someday, when you are older and stronger, you will help someone else. That is how kindness works. It passes from one person to the next forever." Vel thought about this for a long time. It was very different from what her mother had taught her. But it felt true. It felt right. On the third day, they finished the roof. Vel stood back and looked at their work. The new metal panels gleamed in the fading light. Every seam was sealed tight. Every edge was smooth and secure. It was the best roof on the whole street, maybe the best roof in this part of the colony. "We did it," she said. Her voice was full of wonder. Ho smiled and put a hand on her shoulder. "You did it. I just showed you how." That night Vel slept in a dry house for the first time in weeks. No water dripped on her face. No puddles formed on the floor. She lay on a new mat that Ho had given her, warm under a new blanket. She stared at the ceiling and listened to the rain falling outside. The sound was different now. It was not scary anymore. It was almost peaceful. She thought about her mother. She wondered what she would think of all this. Would she be angry that Vel had accepted help from a human? Would she be disappointed? No, Vel decided. Her mother had wanted her to be safe. Her mother had wanted her to survive. If she could see Vel now, warm and dry and fed, she would be happy. She would understand. The next morning, Vel went to Ho's workshop. She found him working on a small device, his hands moving with careful precision. He looked up when she entered and smiled. "How was your first dry night?" he asked. "It was wonderful," Vel said. "I slept the whole night without waking up." "Good, you needed the rest." Vel stood there for a moment, not sure what to say. There was so much she wanted to express. Gratitude, happiness, something that felt almost like love, but she did not have the words. Instead, she asked a question. "Ho, why do you live alone? Why do you not have a family?" The human's hands slowed but did not stop. "After died, I could not stay in our old home. Everything reminded me of her, so I left. I traveled from place to place fixing things for money. I told myself I was looking for something, but really I was running away." Running from what? From the pain, from the memories, from the fear of getting close to anyone again. He set down his tools and looked at her. When you lose someone you love, it hurts so much that you think you will die. And you tell yourself that if you never love anyone again, you will never feel that pain. "Did it work?" Vel asked. Ho shook his head slowly. "No, the pain did not go away. It just changed into loneliness, which is a different kind of pain, a slower, quieter one." Vel understood. She had felt that loneliness too. Every day for 2 years she had felt it. "What changed?" she asked. "Why did you decide to help me?" Ho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "When I saw you on that roof, struggling alone in the rain, I saw myself. And I realized that I was tired of being afraid. I was tired of running. I thought that maybe, if I could help you, I could finally start to heal." Tears rolled down Vel's face. She did not try to hide them. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Ho stood up and walked over to her. He knelt down so they were face to face. "No," he said softly. "Thank you. You have given me something I thought I had lost forever." "What is that?" "A reason to care. A reason to wake up in the morning. A reason to believe that the universe is not as cold and empty as I thought." Outside, the rain continued to fall. But inside the workshop, something warm and bright had started to grow. Two broken souls had found each other in the gray streets of New Harbor, and together they were beginning to mend. Vel reached out and took Ho's hand. His skin was rough from years of work, but his grip was gentle. She felt safe in a way she had not felt since her mother died. She did not know what the future held. She did not know if this feeling would last. But for now, in this moment, she was not alone. And neither was he. The weeks that followed changed everything. Vel started visiting Ho every day. She would come to his workshop in the morning and stay until evening. He taught her how to use all his tools. He taught her how to read blueprints and repair broken machines. He taught her everything he knew. In return, she brought light back into his life. The workshop that had been silent for years was now filled with the sound of conversation and laughter. Vel asked endless questions about everything she saw. She wanted to know how ships flew. She wanted to know how engines worked. She wanted to know why some metals were strong and others were weak. Ho answered every question with patience. He had forgotten how good it felt to teach. He had forgotten how much joy there was in watching someone learn. Vel grew stronger. The regular meals that Ho shared with her put color back in her scales. Her wings grew larger week by week. Her eyes were bright and full of curiosity instead of fear. She was becoming the dragon she was meant to be. The other residents of New Harbor noticed the change. They saw the human and the dragon walking together through the market. They saw them working side by side on repairs around the neighborhood. They saw them eating dinner together at Ho's small table. And they talked. The unfriendly was the first to say something. He approached Ho one day at the market with a troubled expression. "I do not understand you, human," he said. "You spend all your time with that dragon child. You feed her, you teach her, you treat her like family. Why do you waste so much on someone who is not your own kind?" Ho looked at him calmly. "Why does it matter what kind she is? She needed help. I could help, that is all. But she is not human. She cannot repay you. She cannot give you anything in return." Ho smiled. It was a gentle smile without any anger or judgment. "You think kindness needs to be repaid, but kindness is not a trade. It is a gift. You give it freely without expecting anything back. And the strange thing is, when you give kindness away, you end up with more than you started with." Stared at him for a long moment. Something shifted in his four-armed posture. "You are very strange," he said finally, "but perhaps not in a bad way." He walked away, his expression thoughtful. Other aliens began to approach Ho as well. They came with broken tools and machines, asking if he could fix them. They came with questions about his methods and his skills. They came with curiosity about the human who had helped the dragon child. Ho helped everyone who asked. He fixed a merchant's broken heater. He repaired a pilot's damaged navigation system. He taught a group of young how to maintain their hover bikes. He never asked for payment. He never turned anyone away. Word spread through the colony. People began to talk about the human mechanic who helped without asking for anything in return. They called him the fixer. They called him the kind one. They called him strange and foolish and wonderful. And slowly, the way they thought about humans began to change. Vel saw all of this happening. She watched as aliens who had once ignored her nodded at her in the streets. She watched as children who had once run away now stopped to talk. She watched as the cold distrust in people's eyes turned into something warmer. One evening she asked Ho about it. "Why do you help everyone?" she said. "You are only one person. You cannot fix every broken thing in the colony." Ho was cooking dinner. He stirred the pot on his small stove and thought about her question. "You are right," he said. "I cannot fix everything, but I can fix some things. And if I fix some things, maybe others will start fixing things too. Maybe kindness will spread, one person at a time, until the whole colony is different." Vel considered this. Is that what happened with us? Ho turned to look at her. His eyes were soft with affection. "What do you mean?" "You helped me, and now I want to help others too. I want to teach the things you taught me. I want to fix broken things and make people happy." Ho's face broke into a wide smile. "Then it is already working." That night after dinner, they sat outside and watched the stars come out. The rain had finally stopped. The sky was clear for the first time in weeks. Vel leaned against Ho's side. Her small body was warm against his arm. Her wings, larger now, folded neatly against her back. "Ho," she said quietly. "Yes. I have been thinking about what to call you." He looked down at her curiously. "What do you mean?" Vel's voice was small but steady. "You are not my father, I know that. My mother was my only parent and she is gone, but you feel like family now, more than anyone I have ever known." Ho's throat tightened. He did not trust himself to speak. "In the language," Vel continued, "there is a word for someone who chooses to be family. It means chosen heart." She looked up at him with her golden eyes. "Can I call you my?" Tears streamed down Ho's face. He did not try to hide them. For the first time in 15 years, he let himself cry openly. "Yes," he whispered, "I would be honored." Vel wrapped her arms around him and held on tight. He held her back, feeling her small body shake with emotion. They stayed like that for a long time, two souls who had found each other in the darkness. Above them, the stars shone bright. The colony of New Harbor hummed with life, and in the hearts of a human and a dragon, something new had taken root. Not just kindness, not just friendship. Family. The seasons changed. The rain gave way to sunshine. Vel's wings grew strong enough to carry her short distances. She practiced flying every day with Ho watching from below, his heart full of pride. She never forgot what he had taught her, and as she grew older, she passed those lessons on to others. She helped a young boy fix his broken toy ship. She taught a group of girls how to seal a leaky pipe. She shared food with hungry children and told them stories about a human who once helped a small dragon when no one else would. The kindness spread. Years later, New Harbor was known throughout the sector as a place of warmth and welcome. Travelers came from far away to see the colony where all species lived together in peace. They heard stories about the fixer and his dragon daughter. They saw the scrap house with the perfect roof, still standing strong after all those years. And they learned what Vel had learned long ago. That kindness is not weakness. That helping others makes you stronger, not weaker. That the walls we build to protect ourselves often end up trapping us inside. That sometimes, to save yourself, you have to let someone else in. And that roofs keep rain out, but people keep loneliness out. Vel never forgot her mother. She carried her memory in her heart forever, but she also made room for new love, new family, new hope. Ho lived to be an old man, surrounded by friends and neighbors who loved him. When he finally passed peacefully in his sleep, the whole colony mourned. But they also celebrated, because his kindness lived on in everyone he had touched, in every machine he had fixed, in every lesson he had taught, in every life he had changed. And most of all, in the heart of a small blue dragon who had once stood alone in the rain, wondering if anyone would ever care. She was not alone anymore. She never would be again.